What's good, people? How's everybody doing this evening? Let some more people get into the chat room. So the video today, the question today is, are you a descendant of Kunta, Kinte, or pseudo Black Native American? So we got to go in on this. And not really a real descendant of Kunta, but figuratively speaking, symbolically speaking, descendant of Kunta. What's up, Global African Tribalism for Self-Government? What's good, fam? What's good? And I want to start off this video with this. Do not allow these pseudo Black natives, because they've been popping up a lot lately. Them, Moors, Hebrew Israelites, to shame you or try to attempt to humiliate you when it comes to your African origins. Do not allow them to shame you and humiliate you. Because it's gotten to the point now. Do not allow them to shame you or humiliate you out of your African roots. Because it's gotten to the point now. I mean, I'm hearing cats talking about we are not African because where are the slave ships at? So therefore the slavery or the slave trade is a hoax because we can't find the slave ships. I mean, who's gonna save a bunch of ships, old ships from the, the 17th and 16th and 15th century? Who's gonna save those ships? That's like me, it's 2017, and I come into your house, and you still got a black and white television, two, old school television. Like, what's the purpose of saving that? So now you got cats trying to leverage that in regards to saying that we're not African. You got these pseudo-natives who are popping up now. I call them pseudo-natives because they don't have a tribe. They're so pseudo to the point that they're so smart that they're stupid. I mean, they're posting pictures of themselves, selfies, and then saying, look at my picture of a selfie, and look at my selfie, and then look at an African. Don't we look different? And they look the fucking same. Or what they'll do, they'll post their picture, and because they're brown skinned, meaning probably, because me personally, I believe my great grandfather or mother on my dad's side was white, or on my grandma's side was white. So you got these pseudo natives who post their pictures claiming that, they're copper tone, but because they're pseudo native, their copper tone makes them a Black Native American, but in reality is because the slave master had sex with their great grandparent. So they're using that picture, and then they're taking a picture of a stereotypical African, jet black, that they've seen on National Geographic or CNN or Fox News. They're using that stereotype, and they're trying to leverage those pictures to support their their non-fact, or their pseudoism, their pseudo-native roots. They're trying to use that as proof that they're indigenous to this land. And it's to the point now, it's comedy. It's comedy. I mean, they don't observe any type of native culture. They don't try to speak the language. They don't eat the foods. They don't do none of the dance. You know, these pseudo-natives, they walk around their head, you know, they walk around with yaki in their hair. You know, instead of wearing a native clothing, you know, they're wearing skinny jeans and Jordans. You know, you see them at the Malcolm X festival. They got on African dashikis, but if you call them African, they take it hella personal. You know, they're wearing African dashikis. They come to the Marcus Garvey festival. They're at the Malcolm X festival, wearing dashikis and yaki and skinny jeans and J's. But if you call them African, they get hella offended. They say, no, I am an indigenous to this land. So where's the culture? That's my question. Where is the culture? And I mean, they read a book and they just take it and run with it without any facts. But let me say this, like I said in a previous video. Do I believe there were dark-skinned, woolly-haired people here on this land before Columbus showed up? Absolutely. But those indigenous people are so few that all of you who are claiming to be one without any facts are just looking hella goofy right now. So I just want to tell Black people of African descent, like, don't allow them to shame you into thinking that being a descendant of the slave, someone of the slave trade, African of the slave trade, is not as bad or unroyal or you equate to nothing or you have no culture. Don't let them do that, because you have to understand. You come from a people who survived the transatlantic slave trade, the conditions of it, that nobody ever in history, I don't care if they try to play the, well, you know, black people weren't the only people that slaves. Nobody went through the conditions that we went through getting over here from the west coast of Africa to America. Nobody. So you are descendants of some of the strongest people ever to walk this earth, because nobody ever went through that type of torture. Prove me wrong. So there is nothing wrong with being a descendant of what we'll say Kunta Kinte, who stands in representation of an African slave. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So people who are insecure and ashamed, they have now adopted a lot of these dusty pseudo ideologies, whether you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite or pseudo-native. They have adopted these dusty pseudo ideologies. You know, so it doesn't make any sense, because some of them feel that now, because they've adopted these dusty pseudoisms, that they're going to have an upper hand over African Americans or descendants of the Africans that came over through the slave trade. They really think that when Donald Trump or Mike Pence or Hillary Clinton sees them, and Donald Trump comes up to you and say, "What's up, my African American?" And that if you tell Donald Trump, "No, I'm not an African American. I am an indigenous person," like he's really gonna give a damn. Because at the end of the day, just like I tell my African friends that come over here, we're all the same. We're all one. So if you think being a pseudo-native is going to give you leverage when it comes to, here we go, here's another one. Somebody said that by Black African Americans who claim to be descendants of Africans who came over via the slave trade, it's going to be harder for you to get reparations than the Black pseudo-natives who are indigenous to this land. We will get our land and 40 acres and a mule or whatnot and the reparations first. They really think that. They like the system gives a damn. They could care less. Because the majority of these pseudo-natives that I know are renting apartments in Riverdale. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Riverdale, but I'm just saying, where's your land at? Where's your reservation at? Where is it? What's up, Daniel Cons? How you doing, brother? Let's see here, the SPLC article. They are on the radar as hate groups. The pseudo-tribal nations are about to get hit by Kunta major. I mean, they're not a hate group. Well, I wouldn't consider them a hate group because I really don't consider them a threat. They're just stupid as hell. They're dumb and smart. They're smart and dumb. That's what they are. Because they really think by projecting themselves as pseudo-natives that they're going to have some type of upper hand, that the races really give a damn. You know, like they're going to get some special treatment or concessions. Again, you had one that told me, well, African Americans will never get their reparations by claiming they're African American. They'll claim it by claiming their indigenous land. Like these races give a damn. They see you as Black. So they could care less. And then again, you guys don't even embrace the native culture. You guys are too busy embracing African culture, who you swear you're not, and just Black American culture. That's right, self-hate runs deep. So no one is not going to give you an upper hand on anything by saying that you're a pseudo-native. Because again, if you're a descendant of the slave trade, you come from in your DNA, written in your DNA is the legacy and the roots of the strongest people who ever walked this earth. Because nobody experienced what our ancestors experienced getting to this continent from Africa. And you should be proud of that. You know how many Africans tell me in Africa, we respect Black Americans because no one went through what you went through. You guys are by far the strongest people on this planet. And it's the truth. And not to marginalize what Africans on a continent went through during colonialism and apartheid, but that trip that our ancestors took on the slave trips during slavery, no one ever in the history, no group of people ever experienced an event like that. Then you get here, you're on the plantations, then you so-called get off the plantation. You have Reconstruction area, the Reconstruction era, where you're getting raped. Well, while you're on the planet, when you get off the slave boat from Africa, you're getting beat, lynched, castrated, raped. You survive that. Then you have the so-called Reconstruction era, where you're allegedly free, but jealous whites will come in the middle of the night, burn everything you had, the land you had, arrest you, hang you, put you in concentration camps, steal your land, kill you, hang you. Then you had Jim Crow, war on drugs. I mean, it just goes on and on. No group of people ever experienced what Black people in America or the descendants of African slaves ever experienced. Nobody. Prove me wrong. Nobody. The Capitan Don is back. What's up? I can't pronounce your name, fam. From Goriga. Did I say that right? Yes, the Capitan Don is back. So I am proud to say I am a descendant of Kunta. Kinte. Stands in representation of the descendants of the African slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, or African slave trade in general. I am happy to say, I am proud to say that. I have no issue, no self-hate. Don't have to sit here and say I am an indigenous, I'm not an African, or I hate Africans, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, or I'm a Moor, or whatnot. My roots, my descendants came on that slave ship and survived. We are survivors. Our ancestors that came over are the strongest, most resilient people ever to walk this face of the earth. And I am happy and proud to say that. So, all right, my descendants are Sierra Leone Mende, my descendants, but we came over on the slave ship, and I am not ashamed at all to say that. Because they're trying to make it seem now that our descendants just because they came over here on a slave ship are inferior. When in fact we survived the transatlantic slave trade. And again, we are the strongest, most resilient people on this planet. So I can roll with that. Every attempt to get rid of us, they can't do it. We're still here. Descendants of free men. Okay, I receive that. Descendants of free men. I can say that. So I am definitely a descendant of Kunta. You'll never catch me saying I'm indigenous to this land. And again, are there some dark-skinned, woolly-haired indigenous people that were here before Columbus came? Absolutely. But they all originated from Africa. And the ones that were here, they pretty much experienced slavery and colonialism like we did. So they were rounded up as well. They were put on the plantations with us, or they were put on a plantation to serve, or they were slaves of the Indian. So they had that, so they intermixed. So if you were indigenous, we'll just say indigenous to this land, dark skin, woolly hair, you mixed with the African. You weren't separated. You didn't get special treatment. Same thing with the Native American. Maybe, and there were some indigenous blacks who kept their culture. They are still around today. But 99.9% of y'all who are claiming this pseudo-indigenous black native, y'all are nothing more than the descendants of African slaves or African freedmen, like my man said. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I just wanted to say that and put that out there. Again, I will acknowledge that there were African, black, indigenous natives here on this land. But again, when they were rounded up and put on a plantation, you guys mixed with us. Some were rounded up and were slaves to, we'll just say, the white Indians. And there are very few who kept their indigenous ways. Very few. And they're out there and you see them because they're proud of their culture. But again, you got a lot of these pseudo-natives who are running around with yaki in their hair, Air Force Ones, skinny jeans, wearing dashikis at the Malcolm X festival, who speak no indigenous language, who wear no indigenous native clothing, who can't even name an indigenous native dish, food. They have absolutely no connection to anything native or indigenous when it comes to the culture. But when you tell them or ask them if they're African, they get offended and say, no, I'm indigenous. But they ain't give a damn about the culture. But it sounds sexy as hell to say, no, I'm a black, native, indigenous, pseudo tribe member. It sounds sexy as hell, I guess. So no. So that's all I wanted to touch on. You guys got any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about, rap about? Don't forget, hit the super chat too, you know, if you're so inclined. If not, it's all good. I still love y'all. Any questions? Well, you have the Gullah Geechee who kept the culture. But see, the issue, the reason why it was hard for Africans to keep the culture once they were brought over here is because rarely were we kept together by tribe. We were primarily sold and kept together by pretty much your potential as far as how you would perform on a cotton field. So when you're on an auction block, they didn't say, hey, we have 10 Igbo males, let's keep them all together. It was like, we have a strong buck who could pick cotton 24/7. What's the highest price? So when you mix, you know, I mean, look at Africa now. Hausa, Fulanis, the Hausa, the Igbos, they're all separated. But just imagine if you were to mix them. You couldn't really connect the dots and have a culture to preserve. So that's why, you know, as Africans say, like, I mean, that's why we don't have like an African culture here in Black America, because we were so many different cultures on the plantation. Now we have some African roots as far as, I know a lot of times when you watch a lot of these slavery movies, they're doing the African dances, the voodoo, because we all had an indigenous religion that we somewhat agreed upon. But outside of that, we really didn't have that much culture mixing. And then you throw Christianity into the mix, and that destroys all of that. So yeah, I mean that's why it's hard to find Africans that are over here that came via the slave trade that were able to preserve the culture outside of the Gulagichi. They were able to. Yeah, so that's why. Because again, on that auction block, they weren't trying to keep all the Igbos, Ashantis, Yoruba, Fulani, Hausa, whatever slaves together. It was, I got this big buck, he can perform, pick cotton all day. How much you want for him? Highest bidder. And so you had all these different cultures mixing. And I think the only thing really in common, and this is what I've seen in Africa. Well, it's different now because of the everybody, because Western religions evolved. But just from what I've somewhat observed, just from what I read and seen, as far as documentaries on the plantation during slavery, everybody had pretty much a form of indigenous religion that somewhat they united around, before they really indoctrinated the slaves with Christianity. Appreciate it, Daniel. EJ, I'm from South Carolina, and we never deny some of our indigenous roots. It's only people on the outside who don't know what they're talking about. Indigenous roots as far as what, EJ? What do you mean, EJ? Yeah, so thank you guys for showing up. I have a couple. This weekend, I'm going to do probably 4 living and doing business in Africa editions. I know we're hitting Ghana, should be doing Angola, South Africa, and Tanzania or Kenya again. So be on the lookout for that this weekend. Daniel, I appreciate that, fam. Daniel, you have any questions? Anything you want to ask? Yeah, did this help? Was this helpful? Did this make sense? In the chat room? You agree or disagree with what I said? You in the chat room? As far as us being related to many native tribes, yes, I've been in Namibia. I was in Namibia back in 2012. I'll be back in Namibia next year, 2018. Absolutely loved it. You got to check out my videos when I was in Namibia. They're on here. As far as us being related to many native tribes that were captured in the Carolinas, which extended to Georgia and Florida, and those natives look no different from Africans. So EJ, are you saying, okay, so EJ, did these natives that were captured, where they sent the plantations and then they mixed with the Africans that came over? Because again, I'm not denying that there weren't any dark-skinned, woolly-haired natives here before Europeans came. It's just, it would be hard to keep your indigenous culture when, again, they could care, racists could care less. All they see is black. So we know that a lot of these natives mixed with the African slaves. So that's the point I'm making. It would be hard to keep it separated because, again, if it is separate, again, where's the language? Where's the food? Where's the culture overall? So yeah. All right, you guys. There's no more questions. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. I gotta wake up early. That's okay. Kohana, Reekman Kohana. You know what? I meant to bring that up. DNA test. All these so-called pseudo-natives. I would love for you guys to take a DNA test. Love to. Yeah, Doug, I know. It wasn't Mansa Musa, it was Abu Bakari. In fact, let me show you something. I got the book. Hold on. Yeah, where's this book at? In fact, you know what? It's in this book right here. I read this to my son. Mansa Musa book. My son's name is Mansa. So I read this book to him. And in this book, they talk about Abu Bakari left his throne to come to America, or to just to sell, and he ended up in somewhere near Brazil. That's where he ended up. Hold on, I thought I was in here. If it's not in here, it's in my Abu Bakari book, but it's the Mansa Musa book. So yes, but they were African from Mali, the Mali Empire. Abu Bakari. He's from the Mali Empire. So he's African. So yes, again, like I said, there were Black people here before Columbus. Now I'm trying to, where's my Abu Bakari book? Because they had an illustration of it. I mean, just so people can see, get a visual. It's over there somewhere. I got a ton of books. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, there were Black people over here. But it's just my issue is the so-called pseudo-native is so lazy. Because I mean, this is the thing, this you gotta understand. The Hebrew Israelites, at least they try to immerse themselves in some type of culture that is unique to them, as far as the garments they wear. You know, they learn the language Hebrew, they read the Torah, they do all that. These pseudo-natives are lazy as hell when it comes to the culture. They don't do shit. Again, they're wearing Yankees, Jordans, skinny jeans, hella makeup, wearing dashikis to the Malcolm X festival. Then they talk about some I ain't African. I'm a pseudo-native. So I mean, come on, like it's just it's a joke now. You know, at least be passionate about it. You know, because even the conscious community, the Commetans, they'll wear their ankhs, their little fez with the ankh on it. They'll go to Medunetta. They'll go to Egypt. In the conscious community, the people who are the Black Americans who are more connected to sub-Saharan Africa, they'll wear the kente, dashikis, go to Ghana. But these pseudo-natives were so lazy that they refused to invest into the Native American culture. That's why you can't take them serious. So yeah. Goriga, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, the book, Beast Mode, it's called Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, this is the name of the book. But I have another book. Sunjiata. No, I'll tell you the name of the other book. I'll tell you the name of the other book that I have. I can't find it right now. It's Sunjiata, The Lion King of Mali. I got that book somewhere around here too. Get that book too. And that tells about the Mali Empire. Man, where's that book? You got me wanting to look for this book. Sunjiata. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I gotta find it. I'm back. Yo, people in the chat, can you see me? Can you hear me? Yeah, my computer just shut off. My shit just shut off. That was weird as hell. So yeah, here's the book. This is the book right here. Mansa Musa. Good book. So any other questions? Yeah, my bad, y'all. Songhai Empire. Reithman. So the Songhai Empire came after the. In fact, I want to say the Songhai Empire defeated the Mali Empire, and that's your boy. Who's the leader? Who was the? I forgot his name, but let me look it up real quick. But the Songhai Empire defeated the Mali Empire. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of the leader's name. Askia the Great, and he has Sunny Ali. So that was the Songhai Empire. Yes, sir. All right, you guys, any more questions? Or I'm about to shut it down. Man, it's already 10:49. Oh, it's okay. It's already 10:49. All right, fam. Like I said, check me out this weekend. I'll be back with the Living and Doing Business in Africa series. Got some good people lined up. So come back for that. So next time, family, search for Uhuru. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram. Reach out to me on Instagram. Please follow me on Instagram. Search for Uhuru. Search for Uhuru on Instagram. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.